in songs, drums play an important and interesting role in that they don't make the chord changes or sort of the top level feelings of the song. They both propel the song, but also they provide the sonic landscape and dynamics of the song.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the drums are the things that make you want to feel quiet or make the things that want you to jump around with your friends. So I think the drums, we provide the propulsion and dynamism that sort of makes us feel a certain way when we hear music. I'm Douglas Perkins. I'm a musician, and I'm also the director of percussion at the University of Michigan.
I have dreams about our future.
If you go right down to the primal level, there's the sense of the frisson, you know, the goosebumps and the chills that you get when you listen to music, or the tightening of your throat, or the feeling of tears ready to come out. There's a sense of deep feeling, I think. That's a primal thing. I can't really describe how that happens. There's a sense of personhood and place, I think, because, music isn't just sounds in an organization, but it's also how it connects to your life and your history and your whole network of emotions. And how does a very simple, maybe goofy little tune just evoke very, very deep emotional response? I suppose maybe you could probably talk about how it triggers the brain development and all that, although I don't know if I'm really capable to get into details. But that's, I guess, on the top of it, what it is. Music, there's the feeling, the impact of how music literally touches your body, and you feel intensities, and you feel, farness and closeness, and all this sense of physicality that we have as humans. So I think it awakens all of that. There's a sense of survival maybe that it triggers onto, and basic communication and all of that entails for a living. So many inroads, I think, into what that center point might be.
I want to do the last chorus again.
Yeah.
Should I sit, stand?
Whatever you're comfortable with. Whatever you feel like doing.
I'm going to just play some blues.
Go for it.
Let's see. Alex Johnson, no need for any adornments to that. And my title, for this purpose, Founder, because I started it. You know what? Let me try a different approach here. Same thing. My earliest memory of pursuing music around the age of 4 was learning how to put a record on a turntable and dropping the needle. I listened to my dad's Beatles records, Beach Boys, but mostly Beatles. And I heard the magic, didn't know what it was. I said, whatever these guys are doing, I want to do that too.
Like the winter of 11th grade for me was spent entirely in my parents' basement, learning about the guitar and learning about music and learning about composition and learning just learning how songs are built. And I had almost no community. It was just me with a radio and a record player and a tape player and a guitar and an amplifier and a garden chair in my parents' basement. And I don't know if my parents were worried about me or not, but in 11th grade, from October to March, I didn't go out once. I just stayed in my parents' basement, just woodshedding and learning and absorbing. And
to me, Woodstock was like the pinnacle, right? I wanted my own Woodstock. I wanted to be involved because I wanted to be in a band, but I pretty quickly, and certainly I was still in my teens when I realized that I could coach bands too. because I wanted my own Woodstock, I was always looking for an opportunity. And when I was in probably 9th grade at community high, I went to the dean and I said, "Is there a music festival at the end of the year?" And she said, "No." And I was surprised. I thought, this school with all the kids playing music, we should have our own outdoor festival. I said, "Well, can I start one?" She said, "Yes, you can start one." So
I think those are the moments that are so inspiring to me, that make me keep going, just because like, I think whether in any performance, I'm grateful that people come in and are part of it, and then just that to see an idea that you had that seems strange comes to life, and then that it all feels silly and wonderful and sort of miraculous. Yeah, it's like the best. It's one of the best feelings. It's like life affirming to do things like that, I think.
I know in this building there was one time where I was trying to write my dissertation, trying to get started with the dissertation piece. It was going to be a big piece for orchestra. Didn't know what it was, but I was downstairs in the big hallway that has all the practice rooms in them on both sides. So, during times of the year when everybody's practicing there, it's just like this din, but it's great, because it's made of all these genius players just playing at the same time. Well, I was down there in the summer when there was hardly anybody around, just me, like in the middle of this long hallway, and then at the very ends of the hallway, there were some people practicing, and it ended up being a tuba player and a piccolo player. Well, I'm in the practice room just like trying to, get something cool. Nothing was happening. And I just frustrated. I said, let me just get out of here and take a break. So I opened the door, stormed out, and at the same time, on both sides of the end of the hallway, the lowest note of the tuba and the highest note of the piccolo went, bah! They played at just the same time, cut my ears as I was walking between them, and I was like, oh, that's a great sound! So I ran back in the practice room and I just wrote down that interval. Played it a couple times on the piano, this great sound, and I said, yeah, I like this. And then I took my break and I came back, and 22 minutes of a piece of my symphony came spilling out after that. 2 notes at the right time. It just, that really made me like, it just arrested me.
I keep seeing them going around your head. I'm like, oh my god. Okay. He's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. My name is Trillian Krug, and I'm a musician and a manager. I play drums mainly because I started with percussion in 5th grade because I've been playing piano for a lot of my life, and also because I'm a redhead. It's kind of like I have a little bit of anger going on all the time, and there's a lot going on in my life, and I find drums the most easy way to put energy into music. Like, a lot of times drums are associated with heartbeat, or the kick drum or the bass drum is like like I said, the backbone of a band, of a group. And I think depending for different people, some people are focused on like higher melodies or such, and other people really like the bass of a song. And I think drums encompass all of that. Hi-hats are high frequencies, like the bass drum, the kick is low, and I think that could help pull in different types of people as well as push them away into a style of music.
What really inspired me to begin like a home studio and start writing songs was Billie Eilish and Phineas's journey. And I always loved watching Billie Eilish in her like old home studio in her little bedroom, and I would like look at every single piece of gear in there, and I would be like, okay, so I know what she sounds like, and these are the tools that she used. My first EP was like me trying to be Billie Eilish, and it in retrospect it was a good beginning. I think for me, like growing up doing piano and like visual arts, it's always like imitation at first. You like try to imitate the masters, copy like the works. Like half of the paintings down here are like direct copies of like pictures, and in piano it's like I'm also just like trying to copy what like I hear. That was my approach to songwriting at the beginning. And I think just after writing like a bunch of songs, after listening to more music, I'm able to like take all of that and integrate it into like a unique sound that I can call my own.
I was supposed to be a photographer. I was you know, when I was in high school and people said, "What are you gonna do? You know, what are you gonna do? What's your career path or whatever?" You know, and I would always tell them photographer, and because that was like the legit thing that I could tell my parents, I could tell relatives and stuff, and I was pretty good at it. Like the year I got my good camera was the year that I also got my first guitar, and they had to duke it out until until I graduated from high school, and then it was obvious that the guitar was going to win eventually.
I think I had the "I'll be a vet" when I was like in 2nd grade. I think once I hit 6th grade and I picked up drum set, I think it was like end of 5th grade, 6th grade, I picked up the drum set and I realized, and my mom was like, you know, you could do what you love for a career. And it was like, okay. And things kind of flipped, and I had my drum instructor really got me through high school and like showing me that like you can do this. Like he was the symphony orchestra, like he was a timpani player, so we played with them. And when he passed, unfortunately, and that kind of, part of me, shout out to him, but part of me wants to like keep going for him. Like, you know, like he helped me get to where I am, and then I'm like, you know what, like he lived his dream and I can too.
So when I was 13, I was sure I wanted to move to Los Angeles and be a musician and like make a rock band and be cool. My parents told me I had to go to college, so I said no. I was going to go to college. In addition to music, I thought I might want to be a social worker. I was doing a lot of work in the inner city in Pittsburgh. I met a priest that I was working with, which is weird. I don't have Catholicism in my life at present, but I was having dinner with a priest who I was explaining my life to, and this priest told me that he sort of laid God into it and was like, you have this gift, and he was like, you can always be a social worker, but maybe you've been given this gift of music to do something, so why don't you follow your gift of music, and then if you hate it, then go be a social worker. Like, really, it's weird to tell you, but I do think that it was this conversation that gave me the, like, just slightly tipped the scales to, okay, I'll continue with music. I think the more I found my voice, the more it felt like what I have to do, so that whereas now, as an educator in addition to a performer, or even as a performer who is often doing things with younger people and trying to, like, spread a certain kind of energy to people, I feel like I'm in the right place, and this is what I need to do.
I was super shy growing up, and I didn't really know how to communicate very well, especially like with my parents or people who were close to me. So I dabbled into like poetry and writing in around like 8th and 9th grade, and I grew up playing piano, and it like naturally came to me, like combining poetry with music to like begin writing songs. And especially like once 2020 hit, I like just started writing songs and producing, and I think it was one of the best forms of therapy for myself. It allowed me to really hone in on all of my different skills and just put something out there to communicate how I felt at the time and like all of the emotions that had been building up.
Part of it is like I do a lot of original music, and so a big part of it is expression and being able to like get my thoughts out in a way where nobody will interrupt me and nobody can edit it and nobody can say that ain't right or whatever. Like, this is me expressing myself, and I'm getting it out. You know, this particular thought is going to get out in a big way, and that feels awesome. And then the community aspect of it as well.
Almost everyone wants to play or does some playing of some music at some point in their lives. Right there, that's community. And when people come together to see a band, but when people come together to learn music and to do stuff with music, because there's a lot of stuff you can do, yeah, it really turns into a thing, a scene, a happening.
Should we shut the window?
Nah.
No, just ruin the footage.
And go to the F.
With this?
So go.
What the fuck's the F?
So yes. And then. Okay. Right. Oh.
I think the collaborative nature of music is sort of built in. There are a lot of people who come up with a great chord progression, but don't really know how to craft a melody. Or some people can sing really well, but they're terrible lyricists. So when you get the right elements, it's always collaboration that gives us, I mean,
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. There's not the full thought isn't there. It's like 75% of the thought.
Right, but if you can include your like watch
think of any band and think of the roles of the various people in any of the, and I mean the legendary bands. Look at The Who. Okay, Pete Townsend wrote pretty much all the songs, but he didn't sing like Roger Daltrey. And Keith Moon was a singular drummer in rock history. So that band made that sound because those four guys were in it. It didn't even matter that only one guy was writing the songs, because without this combination, you couldn't have had that magic. And that's always a collaboration, unless you're a solo performer. And then the argument could be made that you are collaborating with the audience. There's a fair amount of give and take that shape a performance.
But to fully commit to it is too much, right? You're
I
washed
think
in
it's
the
like
rain.
overdoing it, right?
Right.
You're washing yourself off in the rain, but then all of a sudden you're
So
soaked.
so it's
You're
like
in
you're
water.
pretending. Pretend there's no pain. No, that's cliche.
I like in vain, but I just think there's no word that's not there.
I want to tell a story. I want to set a scene. I want people to be able to have context, and I want to have something for people to grab onto and hang onto. And like, I'm going to take them on this journey through this event, or through this space, or through this family, or through this picnic on a beach, or whatever. Like,
What if we said
the context and the message of the entire package is paramount. It's important.
first one? Like,
Yeah. But I don't want baptized to be so.
And then they're there. They're there with you. They're in that scene, you know. And then you can get them. Like, if you get them in that particular setting, then their doors kind of loosen up, and then you can really like get them with the zinger.
Sure, falling into the baptism.
but I feel like we should paint that with like the melody though, like make it go down as we do that line.
That's no one's gonna get that.
I get it.
I know, because we're talking about it.
They call them the feels, and some songwriters and musicians are good with the feels, and you can get the feels through like a fiddle, a violin, you know, doing the right kind of scale over the right kind of chords. You can get the feels through lyrical word choice. You can get the feels through just like managing your consonants.
Can you just try it a little bit? Don't belt it. I just want to see if we can find this, because I think that's what the song needs, and that's what's missing. Belting it and then pulling back. Like, let's just go from the chorus, that way you can build it up mentally for yourself.
I can still falsetto the chorus, right?
Yeah, I mean, falsetto the chorus is falsetto slightly louder than you falsetto to the verse. You know what I mean? The easy trick is just hit the consonants a little harder.
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
That's okay.
Like, I mean, that's total songwriter nerd stuff right there. Is consonant management.
When it grew out like a jungle.
Like depending on what you want to get across, whether you want to activate people, or you want to soothe people, you want to comfort people, or you just want you could say, this song is gonna make them cry. I am gonna make some people cry right now, you know? and you can, with just your word choice.
A lot of the time, my songs begin from like a seed, and that seed can be either a lyric, melodic line that I can't get out of my head, or like a chord progression, or production. Usually most of that will come from like bits and pieces of songs that I've been listening in the past week, or sometimes it'll just be like a song itself that I'm like, damn, I wish I wrote this. I also like text painting, which is where you like take a lyric and you make it literal through the sound. This is the session for my song Heavy, and how many tracks are there? There's like 88. Half of them are empty, so it's probably less. For the beginning starts out just like my voice and a guitar, and I'll play a little bit of it. That is not a guitar, that's a piano. And at there's no sound, I just like cut out everything and let there be silence for like... I see a hurricane, but there's no sound. Why is the air so heavy? Made me learn how to breathe again. I find that like the fewer elements I use, the more I have to play around with the effects to make it interesting. So I switched it to guitar because just to like create some contrast. Reverb is like by far one of my like go-to choices, and it just really like fills up the space and creates like an ethereal atmosphere.
Going from analog tape to just things going onto a hard drive. It's like yes, the talent is actually in the modern day. It's really important to have a talented recording engineer, and you can have a marginally talented artist, but the recording engineer can make the marginally talented artist sound amazing.
So an EQ, or an equalizer, is a plugin that allows you to control different frequencies, and it allows you to... This here is a parametric EQ, which means it has a bunch of different parameters you can choose from. So there's three main parameters: frequency, which is like how high or how low a pitch is, like dB, like how much you boost or cut or like dip the volume in those areas, and then there's the Q, which is like how wide that certain band affects it. So when the Q is like super narrow, it just like allows one like frequency to like be really prominent, and this is when you're EQing vocals, this is called sweeping, and you're trying to like look for resonant frequencies that might be like a bit too much in the vocal mix. And then once you find those, you like, for example, let's say, crushing my lungs till they're empty, getting up with all I had, and it wasn't enough. It's never enough. So like maybe this range sounds kind of too much, so then I might like bring it down a few decibels like that. So
obviously the challenge of comparison and comparing yourself to other musicians, and understanding that you're in an industry where you have to be the best to make it, because people only get recognized if there's something different about them. And some others do, but it's like, it's a game. It's a tough game.
Well, what I see I actually see the individualism and the expression coming back into the mainstream because the internet changed the record companies. There was a time when the record companies had the say, like, oh, we've heard your demo. You're never going to be heard by anyone. And they had the power to do that. Because radio and records were the way we got things to your ears. Then came the internet.
And there was these two guys that I recognized had the same dorm background as me. And I was like, you're in my building. And they were like, yes, we go to this school, blah, blah, blah. And as we became really good friends, they both do like music, obviously engineering and such, and play instruments. And this one guy had the idea of we eventually called it Unreleased Party, but he had the idea of we could change Chicago in like 5 years, like we want to be that reason behind it. So now the three of us are on board for this party, and we took like some bands and then a few artists and trying to like really round out like a snapshot of what Chicago is.
And now the record industry, such as it was, it's decentralized. It's no longer, well, if you want to do that style of music, you're going to have to go check with the people at Atlantic Records, or, oh, I'm afraid you're going to have to call Sub Pop. You know, there's no one else for you. But the big labels were gatekeepers. They kept people out, and they homogenized music. Like, oh, Motley Crue just had a very successful album. Let's promote bands who dress and sound like Motley Crue for the rest of this decade. Well, that didn't work. And you notice how everyone threw out the playbook in the 90s. They reinvented pop rock with, you know, flannel-wearing shaggy people because that was suddenly the flavor. But then that became derivative, and it's always a game of follow the leader in popular music. And okay, cool, that's fine. But now we have more independent artists than we've ever had.
That's why we started that collective. It's called Unreleased Party, and we're kind of going against selling music online because it doesn't pay the artists what they put into it. So we actually are going all vinyl kind of deal. So we're going to do like a festival and like sell only vinyl so we can pick it up there so people really support the artists and not those streaming service platforms, you know.
But that's the beauty of the new music industry.
Yeah. Is
that what was niche can be very mainstream because the niches are really big.
Yeah.
So, you know, we humans love fandoms, right? Whatever it is, just any fandom. We humans love that. If you're into a thing, you want to get into that thing, and we love that. So that works with music. And you know, when I love an artist, I tell people about it. And most people do. And it spreads that way. Not because the record company is buying time on MTV to show you the video, but because your friend said, check out this band, or check out this singer, or listen to this whatever track, you know. Great. We're doing it the old-fashioned way, sort of. Only aided by the internet.
I'm going to be floating on this event that we had last night, so if you don't mind,
Go for it. What was the event?
The songwriter from Detroit, downtown Detroit, his name's Mike Ward, had a CD release show in our friend's Alan Shannon's backyard, and they have a gazebo in their backyard, and there were 80 people showed up to this CD release show for Mike Ward, and it was like music fans, music supporters, musicians, songwriters, and it was people like of all different levels, like people that are like at open mic level, and then people that have toured the nation and everything in between, and then just people that just love music. And I told Christy, like, I'm still floating on it because I loved every single minute of it, and I didn't even have to play a note. I didn't have to do a single thing. I just loved our community.
So sometimes I don't know if it's when it's like in front of the audience. If I'm playing with the band, yeah, when somebody walks in and they start moving or they start dancing, then immediately it's the other level kicks right in. But when it comes to me like being alone on the stage, I'm usually very nervous, so I'm kind of just like hoping to see somebody like getting into it. But even then, I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed. So,
do you run?
Yeah.
Are you competitive? Are you good? Are you a good runner?
I used to do track.
Okay, nice. I'm a bad runner, but for a while I was running like half marathons and stuff. And it always felt like all of the work was the preparation for the race, and the race was, I could compete, and that I was not going to win or set a world record. It was just the celebration of the process. And I always found that kind of it was very moving, I think.
Even if they're killer players, I'm sitting in the audience, I'm still nervous, just hoping it's going to work, and not sure if people are going to dig it. I don't know. I don't write music solely for their approval, but I'm the stubborn guy at the end of the line who got to accept it. But I do really appreciate people's approval. I don't want to write it for my own sake. I need to feel like it's communicating, touching, contacting somehow. Even if it's a record, I want it to have that same energy.
The live stuff is like, there's so much energy, and it just feels so good that it's infectious. If the audience feels good, they're gonna make me feel good, and if I feel good, I'm gonna make them feel good, and it just becomes, instead of like this, instead of a thing that's split into two, like this is the audience and this is the performer, it becomes like just like we're one thing and we're having a great time, and we're gonna experience these these pieces of artistic works together, and it's going to take us through some emotions, and we're going to do this all together, and we're going to get through to the end, and we're going to be better for it. It's
the experience of performing for people teaches you about the elements of song. When an audience sings along with a chorus, that's because that's a good chorus. That's why they're doing it. When a song really warms up the room, it's a good song, and you have some way to examine the elements and say, the thing that works in this setting is the following. That's where formula comes from. Songwriting formulas are many, but we have them because we have tried and true ways of putting notes together that please people. And so there it is. More times than I can count, and in so many different styles, because excellence is obvious, irrespective of style,
When I came back to it, like in Japan, doing karaoke with a microphone, and and I don't know if you've been to Japan, like in the karaoke booth, it's like they got lights and they got like all these effects on the microphone. I didn't have to be an opera singer, you just get up there and just sing something, and everybody going clapping along, and suddenly I was like, yeah, it's like rocking on the microphone, and I didn't give a damn anymore. So suddenly my voice jumped up. I suddenly could sing a bunch more high notes than I knew I couldn't sing these notes. I knew it. I didn't know it, because later on, once I got rid of that I know it, then suddenly I would just do it. And I could scream up there, I could get really high notes, and I'm going, holy crap. I was convinced that I couldn't do that.
You talk all day, and you don't rehearse your talk. You just say what you want to say. So it's the same with lyrics. Just say what you want to say, but you might have to buff it up a little bit, or make it rhyme, or be the syllable police or whatever. But if you've got something to say, you've got something to write. If you've got something to write, you got something to sing.
Don't squash your inner voices. But honestly, if you have a thought, I want to do this, but that there's a but there, in the sentence or behind, there's something stopping you, don't give up on it. I never thought I could do it, do a tour for real. And I said, but this and that, money, so and so, and here I did a national tour, here we are, you can do it. And don't stop that dream, because there are people behind you to support you. You will find them. If you work hard, if you seek them out, I say don't give up, and even don't give up as a hobby, especially. A lot of people tell me now that they regret stopping piano when they were young just because they didn't want to practice. and now they wish they kept doing it. And that's what made me cling on to it up until now. It's like that feeling that like it can still be a thing. So
one thing I've loved about music is, I think, I guess this kind of touches a little bit on it, but maybe just from a little bit different angles, that these preconceived decisions that I'm talking about, that's often come too with music that I've disliked in the past. Clearly, this is not for me. I don't like this at all. I might even talk to a lot of people about it. Country music was one of those. I used to say, oh, I hate country music and all that. I didn't know nothing about it until I started like hanging out with guys who were giving me some real choice, like country music to listen to.
country is my go-to car playlist because I can sing all of the songs and it's very like, take me home, back roads, like easy like that.
And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that was there, you know, when I started playing it and realizing what the gems were and what the power of it was, and I go, oh geez, okay, I have this whole new wing I can open up.
But I resonate a lot with like punk music and metal music. That goes hand in hand with like anger drumming. I would say, so it definitely depends on my mood though. I'm a very emotional oriented person.
I don't know, maybe there's a sense of the aggravation that's necessary too with it, that I on the negative side. That's good to work through, you know. Yeah. And relationships, that's another big thing too.
Yeah. I would say it took me a year to figure out what I wanted my place to be. I went through about 7 different groups from September to June, and each of them were very different. And it taught me like the people I want to be surrounded by, the music I want to make, and how I want that to impact other people.
I grew up a dyed-in-the-wool rocker, but I was always interested in other music. As a kid, as a teen, I discovered that classical music is kind of brilliant. Like
a lot of what I've done have been these, what I call improbable projects. So, I've had, in some ways, having people hear my music, like I've had compositions. It's weird in its own way, but like for me, the craziest one, I produced a concert in Central Park Lake once. I did a performance in Central Park Lake where we built, literally we were asked to do the whole thing. So we built floating stages, figured out how to make that happen. So we floated stages of performers into the lake with my co-conspirators. We figured out how to rent all of the boats at the Central Park Boathouse. Got people to sell out 2 shows of boats, presented 2 concerts in the middle of Central Park Lake. The New York Times and the New Yorker and all these people came and said it was like one of the best things that happened. And the whole thing was preposterous. You know what I mean? Like, no one should do that. And so like the idea that somebody called and gave me Central Park Lake and the ability to like do a concert in the middle of it, and then all these New Yorkers came and got in rowboats and they like rowed out to see what we would do. And then I had always assumed like that's a performance I assumed would have failed and would have stunk, but it like actually resonated and was a thing. And to this day, telling you the story, it's kind of funny that it happened. And I've been lucky enough to do lots of things like this.
I think it helps people remember things, if that makes sense. I think when people hear a certain song or melody, like it'll bring back a memory for them. And especially for me, there's a place called the Grand Hotel in Mackinac Island, and they're very centered around jazz. Like, and the piano is like the key component of that. And every time, like I hear piano, it takes me to that happy place.
If you had to answer it in the most like, you're applying to get into life.
Okay.
And you want music to be part of it.
Yeah.
And you have 300 words to describe why music is important to you.
Well, there is.
To me, it was inevitable. You listen to music, you love the music, and you admire and idolize the people making it. And I wanted a piece of the action. I wanted, you know.
Mentally, music is always challenging mentally for me. Drumming, I know, has always been like what I want. Like, that's what I want on stage. That's what I want to be playing, to be making.
I knew from the age of 4 that it was music and not painting or any other form of art. That's a thought-provoking question.
I think healing my inner child is like sort of what keeps this going. Like, as I mentioned before, I was like really shy growing up, so this is like sort of me showing my like 7-year-old self that I'm like capable of expressing my feelings. I am able to like ask for help. I'm able to like say things to people.
Well, I guess when I was good at it, and I got people saying, that was great, you know, then you think, oh, I can do this, and then it just becomes something that you just do. But then you have to say, what's your career? And then I thought, music, I guess, you know, and I just did it. I didn't really think about it. So it's just something I've just always done, but I had to fall in love with it. Well, I have to always fall in love with it again and again and again. There's times where you go, even now, I've been doing it for, I'm 57 now, so 52 years, like 53 years. Geez, I'm still going like, why am I doing this? I don't know if I have any relevance in music anymore. All these things these same things that are in the back of your brain from when you were a kid that you decided, they still are back there going, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. You have to kind of kick yourself to do it.
It's about 20 years ago, I had like 2 or 3 months of bad musical experiences. And I thought to myself, why am I even doing this? It's not a career, it's not paying me, you know, it's eating up so much time, and you know, I have all this money invested in equipment and recording and that, and it doesn't even make me feel good. So like I quit. I was like, I'm done. And so for like 3 months, I didn't do anything musical, and everybody was just saying like, wow, you're really grumpy now. Like you swear a lot more and you get angry. Like you have a hair trigger temper and blah. And I was like, wow, you know, maybe it's music. As soon as I started, I got over being jaded and angry and started playing music again, and then I was just happy again.
My drum teacher, when he did pass it, took me a year to get back behind my kit, because it was like, it felt like that part of me was gone. So that was a huge mental struggle for me to realize that part of the reason I was unhappy was because I wasn't in my music world. Like I needed to make sure that I kept going.
So, and then I've gone through some really hard things in my life where music like was literally like medicine. Like it was dopamine generating awesomeness, and all you have to do is just pick up your instrument, and I remember thinking I sound terrible, but I feel great. Like this sounds like, if anybody heard this, they would like call the cops or something. But you know, and it sounds horrible, but the chemistry that it's creating in my brain is working, and so I want to do more of this, and I'm probably never going to stop doing this. Yeah.
I heard music and went, that And there was just no question to me. From the youngest age, that thing I'm hearing, that's the aesthetic I want to get my hands on. And I only learned to appreciate painting as an example. Like, not painting myself, but going to a gallery and seeing paintings. I've only learned to appreciate that, not just as an adult, but as an older adult. Like, I probably, at some point in my 40s, went, you know, Rembrandt was really good. That's a great painting. It's probably in my mid-40s when I realized that. Up until then, all I've really thought about is music.
It's hard to know why musicians are compelled to make music. And sometimes it comes easily and sometimes it does not come easily. I think for me, when it's flowing, it's because I really feel like a call to action about the project I'm working on.
I think there's definitely some people that do music to be seen physically, to be like recognized by name and such, and there's some people that do music to be seen internally, like what they're writing to be heard kind of deal. Like they don't need our theme song actually of our release party. He says, famous success never tempted me. All I ever needed was my family, or something like that. It's just like the idea that we don't need like that necessary like initial recognition, like to make everyone like seen, you know.
Particularly for me, there was a moment when I was kind of, you know, thinking about me as somebody finding their voice eventually. I was kind of coming up, and, you know, in my training in school, I was like a classical music person, with all this rock band stuff in me. And then when I was in graduate school, I met some friends who were also sort of had a similar musical background to me, with like a bunch of rock drummers who also were doing this classical thing. And we started playing music together, and it was kind of funny how this project we were doing, it was this quartet called So Percussion that's still, I'm not playing with them anymore, but was just at the 25th birthday party of the band last week. You know, it just felt good for all of us. And so then it just sort of took on this life where every day we'd get up and we'd make music, and we'd have to work on our project, and we'd have to get concerts, and we'd, you know, and like when I knew it was going well is that days would pass, weeks would pass, months would pass. We would plan a whole year of projects, and it was like really comforting, because we like just knew what we had to do, and we had to work together, and we had to do this work, and it just felt very natural and organic. And I think that feeling, I'm always looking for that feeling. Like I think of it as like the metaphor is there's wind in your sails, I guess.
As I get older too, it's a friend. You know, there's so much music I just practice by myself. I don't necessarily even know that I need to. I want to share it, but I don't necessarily need to. I don't know if I necessarily. I want to share it, but I don't know if I'm going to, because a lot of the stuff I can just sit there and practice for hours. I don't need to have. I wanted people to be happy with music, but it's kind of my own thing too. So. I don't know. I guess I gave you kind of three different points of view, but you know, one of them is just my own selfish, self-oriented development. One is I do love making people happy. If they like, music's made me happy, and it teaches me things always deeper about myself, and like I've talked about, all these things I decided as a youngster and still am, like making conceived decisions about things before I actually know them. You know, it helps me to get past that cycle of things. So it's a lifestyle, you know. It's a life, how you choose to live your life it forms really well around music, I think.
So, you know, a lot of us get one-track minded about our thing. You know, I love theater, but I'm not an actor. I know that about myself. I'm too goofy or, you know, whatever to act. I can't tell a joke because I laugh before the joke is over. So I've realized I'm not an actor, but I can keep the beat, you know, and I can play some notes on a couple things. So, you know, when I was a kid, I really thought, like, if there's justice in the universe, I'm going to turn 18 and the limo will pull up at my door and say, the world awaits. That didn't happen. So I had to try out some other approaches. And I think like a 15-year-old me would say, whoa, that's weird. But yeah, that looks pretty cool. Because the one thing I do that I always wanted to do is music all day, every day. I still do that. And I will for years to come. I think that's all I have to say on that subject.
That feels like a great way to close out the interview, too.
Yeah, the end.
And let me do it again. Let's do it again. I'm me, and you're you, and my feet don't fit your shoes. You're there, and I'm here. My eyes can't cry your tears. You're you, done me. And if you need some love, feel free. I'm here, and you're there. That's the one thing our love can always share. So open wide, don't keep your smile inside. Let's stay up through the night. This time, eye to eye, let the thunder roll on by. Let's stay up through the night. This time, you're you, and I'm me. And if you need some love, feel free. I'm here, you're there. That's the one thing our love can always share. So open wide, don't keep your smile inside. Let's stay up through the night. This time, eye to eye, let the thunder roll on by. Let's stay up through the night. This time, open wide, don't keep your smile inside. Let's stay up through the night. This time, eye to eye, let the thunder roll on by. Let's stay up through the night. This time.